Another thing that was part of this Medicare announcement was what additional amount you may have to pay on top of the standard Medicare Part B premium. So there's something called an IRMA, which is the income-related monthly adjustment amount. And if your income is over a certain level, depending upon whether you're a single or a joint filer, you have to pay an additional Part B surcharge.
Are you ready for a successful retirement? We're addressing the topics facing today's retirees. Welcome to Retire with Ryan. Now here's your host, Ryan Morrissey.
Welcome back. This is episode 120. In this week's episode, I'm going to address the recent announcement from Social Security regarding the 2023 cost of living adjustment, and then wrap up with a listener question on Medicare. But as a reminder, if you haven't gone to retirewithryan.com and completed my 2022 listener survey, I would greatly appreciate your help in doing so. Please go to retirewithryan.com. At the very top of the homepage, there's a link to complete the listener survey. It will take you less than a few minutes, and your feedback is greatly appreciated. So, Social Security recently announced that the 2023 cost of living adjustment is going to be 8.7% beginning in January. And they use the CPIW, which is the Consumer Price Index, for urban wage earners and clerical workers. And this is how they calculate the COLA on a year-by-year basis. And this index rose 8.5% over the last 12 months. But the way Social Security calculates the cost of living adjustment is that they take the average of the indexes for July, August, and September, and then subtract the average for the same period from the previous year, and that worked out to 8.7% change. And Social Security has made it clear from the recent press release, which I'll put a link in through the show notes, that you don't have to call Social Security, you don't have to go see them to receive this cost of living increase. You'll get something in the mail in early December as to what your new benefit will be. But if you want to get that information a little bit sooner, you can go to socialsecurity.gov, SSA.gov, and you can either log into your existing account, or if you don't have an account, you can create a Social Security account. And then from there, you can see what your change will be, or you can also sign up for email or text notifications. And once you do that, if the change isn't already noted, then you'll get an alert when the cost of living adjustment has been posted to your account, so you could see that. So for people that are not yet collecting Social Security but are eligible, let's say you're age 62 and older, you will still get this COLA, but it's not going to show up directly in your statements. Rather, when your Social Security benefit is calculated on an annual basis, what's known as your full retirement benefit or your primary insurance amount, this will be increased by the cost of living adjustment, so that when you actually go to claim your benefit will be adjusted for this increase. And if you're still going to delay your benefit, then any future cost of living adjustments that come through will also then increase the amount that you could receive either at your full retirement or maybe if you're waiting until age 70. And an additional notice about the cost of living adjustment also went out to beneficiaries enrolled in Medicare. And that was also a surprise because the Part B premium, which is the base premium that each person on Medicare pays per month, actually went down from $170.10 for this year to $164.90 for last year. And usually when we have inflation, there's usually an increase in Social Security, but also an increase in Medicare. So this is a welcomed surprise, as we know that inflation is high and it's hard for a lot of people that are retired to keep up with that. So it's nice to see that you're getting a bump in your Social Security check, but you're not getting an increase in your Medicare check. Another thing that was part of this Medicare announcement was what additional amount you may have to pay on top of the standard Medicare Part B premium. So there's something called an IRMA, which is the income-related monthly adjustment amount. And if your income is over a certain level, depending upon whether you're a single or a joint filer, you have to pay an additional Part B surcharge. And if you're not familiar with this, I suggest you go back and listen to episode 31. And so the way that this works is the numbers were announced for this year, which are $97,000 for a single filer, up from $91,000. And for a married couple, $194,000, up from $182,000. And this is based off your modified adjusted gross income. So every fall, you'll get a letter from Medicare, and they look at your tax return from 2 years prior, or to think of it this way, your most recently filed tax return. So they'll look at your tax return that you filed in 2021, and they'll use that income to determine how much your Medicare premium will be for 2023. So if you're over one of those levels that I mentioned, then you'll have to pay an additional surcharge on your Part B Medicare premium, as well as your prescription drug plan premium if you're on a Medigap plan or you're on a prescription drug plan. So it's just a good idea to know what those numbers are. And as you're planning out your income going forward in retirement, you might want to keep an eye on how much money you're bringing in, especially from retirement account distributions, to try to not go over this level if it's avoidable. And so they also laid out that the maximum amount that you could pay, the maximum additional surcharge would be $395.60 per month, and that's per person for Medicare Part B. The Social Security wage base cap was also announced, so you may or may not be aware, but there's a maximum amount of wages that everyone pays into Social Security, and that number has gone up to next year to be $160,200. That's roughly a 9% increase over the amount for this year of $147,000. Then you also have to be aware that if you're collecting Social Security before your full retirement benefit, there's a limit to how much earned income you could have and receive your Social Security. And those numbers were also announced for next year. So if you've not reached your full retirement, up until the year you are going to reach your full retirement, you can only earn $21,240. And if you earn over that amount, then $1 of your benefit is withheld for every $2 you earn over that. But in the year that you're turning full retirement age, reaching your full retirement age, you can actually make up to $56,520. And if you earn over that amount, your benefit is reduced $1 for every $3 you earn over that. So that was an increase from the prior year of $51,960. Now keep in mind also that your Social Security benefit you receive is most likely taxable. It is possible if you have relatively low income in retirement to pay zero tax on your Social Security, but then it moves up to being where 50% of your Social Security is included as your taxable income, up to a maximum of 85% being included in your taxable income. So there can be ways to try to minimize your tax on your Social Security, and that's where doing some tax planning can be helpful. So just be aware that Social Security is most likely taxable, and if it is for you, make sure you're having federal income tax withheld. And unfortunately, Social Security still does not withhold state income tax. You'll either need to send in estimated tax payments for that, or maybe have or extra state income tax withheld from other income sources you might be getting, like retirement distributions or pensions. So now on to our listener question. A listener wrote in that he will be separated from service in late November of this year and is being offered COBRA insurance by his employer, and the company will pay for this for 6 months. He and his wife are both 67, and he is wondering if it's better for them to go on COBRA since it's being offered for free, or should they sign up for Medicare Part A and B? And he's wondering if COBRA is creditable coverage for he and his wife not enrolling in Medicare. And his wife is covered under his health plan and has some disabilities, and is wondering if they could be restricted from signing up for Medicare supplemental plans or face Medicare penalties if they don't enroll in Medicare upon his retirement. So let's address this listener question. And again, as a reminder, if you have a listener question, feel free to go to retirewithryan.com. You can either type your listener question, or even better, you can record it. And if you do, I'll feature your recording on the podcast. So with Medicare, there isn't a problem if the listener takes COBRA insurance for the first 6 months. But there could be a problem if he extended his coverage all the way up to the maximum of COBRA, which is 18 months, without enrolling in Medicare. That would create a big problem. The reason being is that if you lose creditable coverage past 65, so what's creditable coverage? That's coverage that exempts you from enrolling in Medicare if you're working past 65. That's usually if you or your spouse are working for a company that has 20 or more employees. That coverage usually allows you to stay on that company coverage for yourself or both you and your spouse and delay your enrollment in Medicare. And the reason that you're doing that is because you're delaying paying into the Part B premium, paying into prescription drug premium, and paying any IRMA additional amounts that you'd have to pay. If you retire past 65, you have 8-month period where you can then enroll in Medicare without any penalty. So that in this situation, if you stayed on COBRA for 6 months, you'd be fine. It's that if you go beyond that and you go beyond the 8 months, now you're paying a penalty on Medicare for life. And additionally, if you don't sign up, if you work past 65 and don't sign up during that 8-month period after you retire, you now have to wait until the general enrollment period for Medicare, which goes from January 1 to March 31st. And then your Medicare coverage won't start until July 1st. So you could further be prohibited from signing up for Medicare. So you'd want to make sure that you enroll in Medicare before your COBRA coverage ends. And then if you do this, based on your wife having some disabilities, you're probably going to want to go with a Medigap plan, which is going to be the most comprehensive. Right now, Plan G is the most comprehensive, and then you'll need a prescription drug plan. Now, regarding there being a restriction from signing up for a Medigap policy, or if you went with a Medicare Advantage, there is no restriction as long as once you sign up for Medicare Part B, you sign up for Medigap within that 6-month period, because during that period, you can't be denied coverage going into a Medigap plan. If later on, or you don't go into a Medigap plan during that 6-month period, an insurance company can request underwriting for you and they can decide not to offer you a Medigap plan for pre-existing conditions. So in this case, it would sound like be okay to go on the COBRA towards the end of the 6 months, probably like a month, 2 months before, sign up for Medicare so that it's effective as soon as COBRA ends, and then also sign up for a supplemental Medicare plan if that's what you want, either Medigap or Medicare Advantage, so that there is no overlap in coverage. So thanks for the listener question. And again, if you have a listener question, please feel free to submit it at retirewithryan.com. Have a great week, and I look forward to talking with you next Wednesday. Take care.
You should consult a financial advisor familiar with your specific circumstances before you make any financial decisions. Nothing in this broadcast constitutes a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Any mention of rates of return are historical or hypothetical in nature and are not a guarantee of future returns. Ryan Morrissey, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Morrissey Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.